Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. With the new year kind of bearing down upon us at this point, I spent the last couple of days getting my bullet journal ready for next year. I am a bullet journal user, and you can see like this is my one from this year. I have filled it. It's been just like a helpful guide throughout the year. I've been doing this for about 5 years. This is, I think, going to be my 6th bullet journal, and actually I've been bullet journaling about the same amount of time I've been on booktube, so that's kind of fun. I started bullet journaling just a few months before I started my channel, so those things have kind of coincided, and it's interesting to me looking year to year at my bullet journals, at the different ways that I've tracked everything, all the kinds of spreads that have evolved over time. And 2025 is going to be no different. I have definitely made some changes, and so every year now, last several years, I like to do a quick video just kind of looking at my new bullet journal setup, talking about the decisions I've made and what to track, the things that have changed, the things that are continuing on as they have been, and the things that are being removed from my bullet journal. And I like to offer mine as an example of a more basic bullet journal, just because I love watching bullet journal videos, and there's all these people with these incredible, beautiful aesthetic art bullet journals, and I'm so impressed by them, but I can't do it. If I have to put that much effort into it, it's simply not going to happen. I like art. I used to draw a lot, but for me, the productivity tool piece needs to come first for something like this, because otherwise I just don't use it, because I will agonize about the themes and like what art am I going to put in it and everything like that. So for the bullet journal to be useful to me, I don't include art in it. I do use a couple of different colors. I have a color scheme every year, just two-toned, which I use primarily because having different colored headings helps me kind of skim through the information in my journal. So I will have a color scheme again this year, but that's pretty much as far as I go in making it pretty. But because of that, I think there's a lot of intimidation. I know there was for me in like starting bullet journaling, because of how beautiful so many people's bullet journals are, and I'm like really happy for them. But I like to offer mine as a kind of a counterpoint, that bullet journaling doesn't have to be fancy or difficult or intimidating in any way, especially if you're not an artist and you want to try using it as a productivity tool. So I've been doing this every year. I think if you've been watching my channel for a while, you probably recognize this spiel about wanting my bullet journal to stand as a kind of example for people who want to get started but maybe aren't interested in making it like pretty or artsy at all. So yeah, that's kind of the goal of today's video, is just to flip through, and I think it's going to be interesting because I definitely am changing some things this year. I've added some new spreads I'm pretty excited about, and I've taken away a big one that was kind of a staple for the last several years. So I'm interested to see how this is going to go for this year, and I think it's going to be interesting. I'm thinking it's going to work well for me, but obviously time will tell. For now, let's go ahead and take a look at these spreads I do have set up for 2025. Okay, well, diving right in with the 2025 journal. You can see we've added our stickers already, mostly because I wasn't sure how I wanted to place them, so I just did this off camera. But I went for kind of like sassy characters. We've got the Dead Boy Detectives. I'm devastated that show has been canceled. It's so good. We've got my favorite Karlach quote, some little tab quotes from Baldur's Gate, Cursed to Put My Hands on Everything being one of my favorites. Also the All's Well That Ends not as bad as it could have. I love those like ambient dialogue quotes. I think they're so fun. We have a Gustarian, we have Volo's Lobotomies, we've got Majima, we have Us, who is perfect. Back cover, more nonsense. So sick of this shit again. Objection, can I get you a ladder to get off my back? And then Bless Your Heart. This is like the non-fandom one. I just happened to find this while I was out with my family, and I thought it was funny. And then some more tab quotes. But yeah, we went with kind of snarky characters for 2025. And then flip it open, and the first thing you get to is, if I make sure that this is in the right spot, yes. Well, first of all, you get the kind of bullet journal purpose thing, and there's like a grid guide on this side that I don't really pay attention to. And then you get the personal information. You don't need my personal information. We're just going to keep that covered. Diving into this though, we have the key, which I've added a new thing. I'm wanting to start streaming a little bit in 2025, so I've added something for my calendar to keep track of days I'm intending to stream. And then we have my intentions for the year. So I tried to be kind of less ambitious. That is my goal for 2025. And it's mostly stuff like get my technical writer certification, which I've already been working on, read my usual number of books, be consistent, read a nonfiction book every month, start some streaming, but I'm not putting like a ton of pressure on that. And I'm also going to be making some scarves this year to gift to people that I'm really excited about. That's going to be kind of my like big project for the year. Then we have the index, which has all of the stuff in it. I don't really reference the index that much, but I do like to set it up for the first little bit just so that I'm not leaving these pages empty. And then you get your future log, and I do this the same way every year. So I always do this where you have just the title of the month. I have like a little hand-drawn calendar for every month, and then here I'll put down any specific events I have going on. This is usually where I keep like birthdays and that kind of information, or if there's like a specific big event happening. My partner and I are thinking about moving sometime in the next year, so like I'll put our move-in date in here so I won't forget about it. Anything that's like major that I need to remember, including birthdays, goes on these pages. Also, if there's specific tasks that I need to do in a specific month, like at one point I'll have like pay car tax because I'll have to pay my property taxes, and that'll go in here as well. So things like that. Then we move on to my most and least practical sections. Recurring costs. I don't know if that's readable from here, but I always do this. This was something that I started playing around with, I think, at the end of 2023. I tried it for 2024 and loved it. But basically, I'll list out anything that I'm paying for recurring. So like things like my car property tax, but also any subscriptions that I have. I'll list them all out here. I can mark if it's monthly, quarterly, or yearly. And then I put the amount here in pencil because sometimes those change. Sometimes a rate gets, raised, or sometimes I cancel something. So I write it in pencil, and then I'll put like totals at the bottom just to keep track of like how much money I have going out every month, every quarter, every year, etc. And on this side, we have my Nancy Drew spread. I'm trying to play all of the Nancy Drew games, and once 2024 ends, I'll mark off which ones of these I've played prior to the start of 2025, and then ones that I finish in 2025, I'll mark off in a different color so that like when I go back and look at this journal in the future, I can see which games I actually played in the year. I just like having that on hand. I don't know why. It's not useful information. I just think it's fun. After that, we dive into my favorite and least favorite spread of the year. This is read in 2025. I've been doing this the last several years, and basically at the end of every month, I go in and I fill in the number of books that I read that month, and then like the next month, I'll use my other color. I don't know if I've mentioned this yet, but you can see I've chosen a color scheme of kind of sage green and gold, and I always have a two-tone color scheme. So, whoops, getting ahead of myself there. We'll fill in each month's worth of reading, so I can see how many books I read in each month, and then at the end of the year I can see how many books I read total. And I've written out what number of books I read in previous years, so that then I can kind of see where my reading lands. This is my favorite thing to look at throughout the year and to fill out throughout the year. This is my least favorite spread though to create because it takes forever to draw all these little boxes, and I have some repetitive strain pain problems in my right wrist, so I spend a lot of time working on this because I take a lot of breaks to make sure I'm not injuring myself. But it just takes a very long time to set up all these little boxes, but it looks so nice when it's done, and I love being able to refer to it throughout the year, so like I do it anyway. Then we have my TBR tracker, where I'll keep track of how many books I had in my own TBR at the start of the year for each quarter. So start of the year, second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter. Have the start number, how many of my new books I've read, how many new books I've bought that have remained unread at the end of that quarter. And then this year I'm doing something different where I'm tracking the percentage of my new books that I've read, so I'll have that there. And then I also mark off if I've read any of my previously owned books, and how many of them, and any books that I've unhauled. So all of those things impact the number of books in my own TBR at the end of the quarter. Fill that out here, this number then ends up here, and we start all over again. I just like this as a way of tracking change over time in my own TBR, and I find it really useful to like have that information on hand. I think it helps me stay kind of mindful of where my TBR is at, especially since my goal is to reduce it. So I've really been enjoying having this spread, even though it can be hard to look at on quarters where I don't successfully bring that number down, but I think it is helpful to have that as a kind of mindfulness practice. And then on the other side, kind of related to that, I have my self-destructing books list. So these are all the books that I am planning to read or DNF or unhaul or whatever, definitely in 2025. I found that this list was really helpful for me in 2024. It was the only list I've ever completed in, I think, all 5 of the years I've been doing BookTube. This is the start of my 6th year of BookTube, and I found this to be the most helpful list I've ever made. So shout out to Becca and the Books for the idea, because she's the first person I saw do this. I think she's the originator of the idea, but it's just such a useful way of bringing some things back to mind and kind of prioritizing these books that have been sitting on my shelves for a while. The only other list I made this year is on the next page. This is my series to finish list. I had 6 series I want to finish in 2025. These had to be something, or I had read the first book and it was a completed series or is to be completed in 2025. So all of these, I think this is the only one that's still yet to be completed because Strange New World is coming out in 2025, but the rest of these are completed series. The downside here is that I just got this little printer and I wasn't quite sure of like the spacing I needed. And first of all, I love this because this was so easy to put together with the little stickers, but you can see that like I ran out of space here, so we've stacked these two. These are like a novella and a short story collection that go as part of the series. And I wasn't sure of the spacing, so I kind of screwed it up by putting this like previously. I wanted to mark down any of the books in the series that I had already read and not have to print those and put them in here too, because I didn't think I was going to have room for like 5 books across. Clearly I wouldn't have had that room, but I still didn't have enough room for 4. So this is a spread I'll probably adjust for 2026, but I'm hopeful this will help me kind of keep these series at the top of my mind. After that, I'm wanting to keep more track of my goals across YouTube and then Twitch if I start streaming. So right now I'm not sure exactly what I want to track, but I knew one thing I wanted to track was like followers or subscriptions. So for YouTube I have like subscriber number. I'll put the start number here whenever 2025 rolls around. And then I thought it'd be fun to keep track of like my favorite video or project that I worked on in each quarter, just because I'd like this to remain like a positive spread, looking at like my progress as a content creator through my enjoyment of the process and less so through the numbers of the thing. So that's kind of what I want to focus on here. I do have a subscription goal or subscriber goal for YouTube for 2025, which is really the only reason I have this here. I think it'll be fun to kind of look at how that number changes over time. But really I just want to focus on this like positive, what am I enjoying about this in this quarter kind of perspective. And then on Twitch, you have followers and subscribers. I don't 100% know how all of it works yet because I haven't totally dived in. My partner is helping me get everything kind of set up. But so similarly, I have the followers number here, and I'm also gonna try and keep track of my favorite stream or stream moment throughout each quarter, just again to keep a focus on like the positives of it for me, of the enjoyment I'm having in being a content creator versus like something focused on the numbers, because it's not like a job for me. It's not something I am making money off of or likely to make money off of anytime soon, nor do I feel like I necessarily need to. I have a full-time job for that, and this is really for my enjoyment as a creative person outside of work. That's really what I want out of this, and that's kind of why I want to focus on the positive aspects for me personally. Finally, I have, I think, my last yearly spreads. This is my Make a 9 scarves. I'm planning to do a Make a 9 this year and focus on weaving scarves, where each scarf will have a different technique or material or something that's new to me that I'll be trying for the first time. And most of these scarves can be made for several of my partner's friends who they've been so nice and like welcomed me into their friend group. And they all are VTubers and they have these really cool models. So I want to make scarves for them that are kind of inspired by their models, but then also have this like new element to help me learn something. So I'm really excited about this project. I think it's going to be really fun. And I wanted to have some space here because I think I'm going to try and take a picture of each of the scarves and then put a picture here when they're done. I think that's what I want to do with this particular spread. And maybe jot down some notes about like the materials and the process and everything. And then finally on this side, I introduced a quarterly favorites for 2024. This was completely on accident. I had this spare page and I didn't know what to do with it. So I thought, well, it might be fun to like keep track of some of my favorite things across the quarter. And I have loved doing this. At the end of every quarter, I take a few minutes to kind of reflect on like, what's my favorite book? What's my favorite song I've been listening to? What was something fun that happened during the quarter that I enjoyed? And it's been just a really nice kind of moment of reflection that's helped me focus on things that I loved each quarter, things that have been really positive in my life throughout the year, and I just am enjoying doing that, so I'm going to carry it over for 2025 as well. Finally, we move into our monthly spreads, and this is where the biggest change is for me this year. Nothing here is different. I have this calendar page where I'll put down any important events copied over from that future log, and plus anything else that comes up throughout the month. If things happen, they'll get jotted down here, and I've been doing a thing, I haven't put the line in yet, but I'll like mark off this 1/3 to put like birthdays on this side, which I find is helpful because it gets a little bit messy if I'm putting everything just like kind of straight out from the number. Having a section that's dedicated to birthdays makes it a little bit easier for me to parse when I'm reading through it. And then over here we have just my task list for the month and chores. So I haven't put the little box here yet, but I'll put like some boxes. I'll list out the chores I want to focus on getting done every month and the number of times I want to do them. And then I just like mark off like a checkbox every time I finish one. And I've been trying to put the date that I finish them on there because I have a few things I want to do like every other week or something like that. So that just kind of helps me keep track of when did I last do that particular task. So this has been slowly helping me get on top of doing my chores regularly. The big difference is that normally the next page I would turn to would be a TBR and read in the month page, but I've decided to actually drop those because I am already tracking my reading in so many places, and I've recently started a reading journal where I'm taking actual notes on my thoughts on each book that I read, and I don't know that having the TBR and read pages continues to have a benefit for me. If I don't typically look at them, even if I want to know what books I read in a specific month, I have a spreadsheet for that, so I tend to go look at that. And now that I have the reading journal, I just don't feel like I need to kind of capture that information here. I also usually find the TBR page creates more pressure because I'm looking at it all the time and going, oh, I haven't read that yet, I haven't read that yet, I'm not really reading my TBR. And I think that that's probably contributed to my difficulty in finishing TBRs, is I've created this extra pressure for myself by putting that list in front of my own face all the time. Even though it's not that serious, it's a hobby, it doesn't need to be that serious. So I'm eliminating those pages, and the next thing you'll see is just my weekly spread. So this is how I set up all of my weeks. I put my general to-dos, just things I need to do around the house, you know, things that have come up throughout the week that need to get done. I have my calendar, so usually I'll put in here like the days that I have videos go up, Tuesday and Saturday. There'll be a little symbol that'll tell me like, hey, you need to finish this video, or this video is up and ready to go. I'm also going to be putting in like stream days. I'm going to put a T for stream days and put the time that I'm planning to stream and probably what I'm planning to stream. I'm probably going to do a mix of game streams and some productivity streams because I think that's going to be helpful for me. And then we have a little notes section for any just kind of general notes that come up throughout the week. And I've got my YouTube section where I found it was helpful to me to kind of keep my YouTube tasks split out so that it's easier to find them and make sure that I'm getting them all done so the videos go up on time. And then I've created a similar thing for Twitch because I know that like there's going to be some putting together my stream schedule. That too. My stream schedule for Twitch every week. I want to have that done. I'll need to make note if like there's a specific overlay I need to put together. I just want to have a note here, a list spot for any tasks that come up related specifically to Twitch, and hopefully that will help me kind of stay on top of that as I get started. So those are all the spreads that I have. That's pretty much what I use throughout the year. At the very end, I'll include like a planning for next year page, but this is pretty much what my bullet journal looks like, and we're right on time because my battery is starting to flash at me. So yeah, let's pop back to the talking head segment, I guess, because otherwise this camera's about to die. So that's it. That's what my bullet journal is going to look like for the next year. I'm sad, you know, that we're coming to the end of this year. I have really enjoyed this bullet journal. It has some of my favorite stickers I've ever put on a journal. I really love this one, and this has been just my faithful companion all year. It's really helped me keep on top of things and also reminded me when I am not keeping on top of things, and I really appreciate bullet journaling as a process for that purpose. But I am excited to dive into this new journal and see how well this new setup works for me. I'm excited for the new weaving and streaming plans I'm hoping to add to my schedule, and I think it's going to be a good year in terms of my like personal tracking and growth here. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I am really happy with the stickers I put together. I let myself get a little more obnoxious with stickers than I usually do because normally I would not put this many stickers on the bullet journal, but I just wanted to go for it this year and I'm really happy with it. I think it's exactly the vibe that I wanted, and I'm hopeful that this will continue to be a useful tool for me in the year going forward. So that's pretty much all I have for you today. Let me know down in the comments below if you are going to be bullet journaling or if you use some other productivity kind of tool, a planner, whatever it is that you use. Let me know what you use and like how that's working for you. I always like learning about how other people are kind of managing their to-dos, because I don't think I could survive without a list. I think I would forget everything all the time. So I would be curious to see how you're managing that. And I think that's it. So I really hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, I hope you consider giving it a like, maybe even subscribing to see what comes next. I'm currently posting on Tuesdays and Saturdays, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye.